Casting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. We have a woman who used to run a very important division of the IRS. Her name is Lois Lerner. You might have heard of her. She took the fifth after she gave an opening statement, which in the minds of many revoked her right to take the fifth. Nonetheless, it's been revealed now after all her emails went missing because she trashed her hard drive, because she recycled it, and don't ask. Now emails have surfaced, as we've talked about, where she referred to conservatives as, among other things, a-holes. That's right. And it gets worse from there because we have a Justice Department that will never appoint a special prosecutor, unfortunately. And the woman heading the investigation is a two-time, big-time Obama contributor. Could we have written this without getting laughed out of Hollywood? Jordan Sekulow, Executive Director of the American Center for Law and Justice, joins us. Hello, Jordan.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me.
It's always my pleasure. How is this able to happen? How is this able to progress? And we have a Justice Department who couldn't care less, and a media who really couldn't care less.
Well, yeah, that's right. How does it happen, Steve? You know, you asked the question, could you write this down as a script? No way. I mean, the idea that the IRS was targeting Americans because of their political views, we're talking about the very grassroots level of Americans, too. I mean, we're, groups of 100 people, small Tea Party organizations in, suburban places, ex-urban places, et cetera. And this idea that the IRS is still under, quote, investigation, but no one has been charged with any criminal conduct. We know from some of the FBI investigation that's been done, which we initially decided that we would have some of our clients cooperate with, and have now said we will no longer cooperate with the investigation, that all the questioning, really, the focus was on low-level IRS employees, people who were answering the phone, literally, Steve. And they were saying, well, did you have to wait too long? And listen, there were some people who did some unbelievable wait times and, hours long and basically hung up on people, and that's bad. But those are not the people, again, who were directing this out of Washington.
No, Jordan, let me get this straight. Let me interrupt you, and I'm sorry. How many groups do you represent in this IRS suit?
We represent 41 different organizations.
All right, 41 different organizations. And you stopped cooperating with the FBI in their investigation because you're telling me that the overwhelming majority of the questions to your clients in the investigation were, how long did you wait online or on the phone, not getting to the crux of how they were targeted and how they were abused and what they went through.
That's right. Lois Lerner never came up. And so we realized that this was an investigation, even if it was somewhat legitimate, which was focused in on the outside Washington people, trying to, again, underscore that there were, quote, as the president said, boneheaded moves by bureaucrats at the IRS, low-level bureaucrats, that it didn't include the senior management, that it didn't include the chief counsel's office. And there's another problem, Steve, another reason why we decided we're no longer cooperating, and that goes to the heart of this whole idea of the special counsel to investigate someone we could cooperate with. Because the Department of Justice, we now know, was sending Lois Lerner and other IRS officials emails, and we know this from the Lerner emails, and contacting her about filing false claims acts, is, in her words, piecing together criminal lawsuits against groups like the ones we represent, the conservative groups, because of what they put on their applications. So it was a Democrat senator, Sheldon Whitehouse from Rhode Island, who contacted the DOJ. The DOJ then contacted the IRS. That there, right there, is the conflict of interest that makes it very difficult, if not impossible. And in our case, we decided it was not possible to cooperate with investigation because you had direct DOJ engagement, even right up to the time that Lois Lerner was about to make the announcement, a day before she made the announcement that the IRS had been doing this.
Let me ask you, the way in the email Lois Lerner spelled terrorists in reference to conservatives and conservative groups, in addition to crazies and a-holes, but she wrote the whole word a-holes out. T-E-R-O-R-I-S-T-S, but you think the T-E goes to like Tea Party?
You have to, you know what, after everything we found out, and learned through this investigation. I put nothing aside, and no longer do I consider anything to be like reading into it too much or conspiracy, because it keeps getting worse. I mean, this is a few days after the presidential election in 2012, writing on her IRS email, nasty comments, really just, the nastiest you would think anyone would say about someone who just shares a different political view than you, when you are the person in charge of the approval process for the IRS for groups on both sides of the aisle.
Jordan, it is totally outrageous and unacceptable, and anybody with a brain or any sense of objectivity would see that. Let me ask you real quickly about this lawsuit. The group Freedom from Religion Foundation sued the IRS for ignoring complaints about churches that they say violated their tax-exempt status by routinely promoting political issues and legislation from the pulpit. So they've taken back their lawsuit in return, reportedly, for the IRS's agreement to monitor sermons and homilies from churches.
Yeah.
So the IRS is going to be sitting in your church monitoring what the homilies are.
Yeah, now this is the interesting part, Steve. The IRS already had authority and asserted this authority to do this. What had happened is over the last few years, and almost the last decade, that the IRS had basically taken this hands-off approach. A lot of this is because of what's happening in left-leaning churches. So it's not because of conservative churches. It's because of things, even the predominantly black churches in America that host Democrat candidates all the time, things that are certainly questionable. So they kind of took this hands-off approach, didn't really get involved. What they agreed to here, now there's a little bit of a funny business, I think, on both sides. The Freedom from Religion Foundation is a group of very angry atheists. They never win in court. So here in this situation, it's not a win. They dropped their lawsuit, and what the IRS is saying is, we'll do what we said we would do. The question that we can do, we'll do what we say that we have the authority to do. The question is, do they do anything or not? Against these groups. They really try to challenge the groups. If you look at this, the scary part to me, what Freedom from Religion Foundation is saying they got in their agreement, it's not just about a pastor endorsing a political candidate from the pulpit. That's not what the issue is here. That could get you in trouble if you do it from the pulpit at your church. But the question here is, can you talk about issues that may be deemed controversial or have political undertones? For instance, whether it's an issue like the HHS mandate in the Catholic Church, or
gay marriage, which is a religious issue.
Right, and can you just talk about it? And that's what Freedom from Religion Foundation says. They've got the IRS.
Well, this is going to be something to monitor for sure. Jordan Sekulow, Executive Director of the ACLJ. Thank you very much, sir. Always appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, we'll be back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show, folks, after the break. But first, stay tuned for your Newsmax Now update.